Good morning. How is everyone today? It's all April 27th, 2023, and it's a Thursday. And good morning. I'm getting some, let's see if I can point it into the camera, some daffodil flowers that are coming up in the yard, and we bring them in. I'm trying to brighten up the altar for the month of May. That would be awesome, getting ready for the flowers and for God Our Lady. I'm going to continue with banking this morning and look forward to getting into the next chapter, which is the meat and the potatoes of the purpose of what I wanted this whole book for, which is talking about usury and why that's wrong and why it needs to be eliminated from a Catholic society. Okay, so let's finish up now with this chapter on agriculture, and this little subchapter is called bread. But let's first begin with morning prayers. In nomine Deum matronam nostra et Deum Iesum Christum et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Also like to welcome Debbie, who subscribed and followed me on Ko-fi. Let us place ourselves in the presence of God and in Catholic contemplation humbly adore the Trinitarian Theophany. Let us also beg of God the virtue of discernment. And I don't even know if it's one of the major virtues, but it is a very important virtue, especially during these times. Most holy and adorable Trinity, one God and three divine beings, I believe that thou art here present. I adore thee with the deepest humility. I render to thee with my whole heart the homage which is due to thee. O my God, I love thee above all things with my whole heart and soul, because thou art all good and worthy of all love. I love my neighbor as myself for love of thee, and I forgive all who have injured me and ask pardon of all whom I have injured. Let us thank God for the many graces that we receive and offer our sufferings up to the Trinitarian Theophany. O my God, I most humbly thank thee for all the favors thou hast bestowed upon me to the present moment. It is again thanks to thy bounty that I should live to see this day, and I desire to employ it solely in thy service. I consecrate to thee all my thoughts, words, actions, and sufferings of this day. Sanctify them, O God, that there may be none that is not animated by thy love, or that would not tend to thy greater glory. Let us make a firm resolution to avoid evil and to do good, and let us beg of God the graces which are necessary to us. O my God, thou knowest my weakness, and that I am unable to do anything good without the help of thy grace. Deny me not thy grace, O God, proportionate to my necessities. Give me strength to avoid everything which thou forbiddest, to practice the good which thou hast commanded, and enable me patiently to bear all the trials which it may please thee to send me. O God, Our Lady, my mother and patroness, I place myself under thy protection. I throw myself with confidence into the arms of thy compassion. Be to me, O Mother of Mercy, my refuge in distress, my consolation in suffering, now and at the hour of my death. O my God, I am heartily sorry for having offended thee, and I detest all my sins because I dread the loss of heaven and the pains of hell. but most of all because I have offended thee, my God, who are good and deserving of all my love. I firmly resolve, with the help of thy grace, to confess my sins, to do penance, and to amend my life. Bread. We shall begin by quoting a few extracts from Bread in Peace and in War by the Food Education Society of England in 1940. It has been well known for years that civilized diet is deficient in both minerals and vitamins. And they mention mineral salts. I should clarify that. Mineral salts. So it seems that mineral salts are a little bit different. And I was just reading up on magnesium, by the way. I think off topic here, but in a product called magnesium L-threonate. Supposedly, it's very, very helpful to the brain. It crosses the blood-brain barrier and helps rebuild the synapses and the communication aspects within the brain. I'm going to be trying that for my family and especially for my son. Maybe we can get some speech back. There's been people who have commented on how important that mineral has been to their, well, one person said their mother who had a stroke and lost her speech, and after taking it, it came back. Okay, so minerals and vitamins are lacking in our soils. For centuries, two of the most important foods of the world have been wheat and rice. Before 1850, these grains were pounded by hand or coarsely stone ground, and little of the bran was lost, while the valuable vitamin B was retained. The introduction of steel rolls for milling enabled the miller to produce finer flour, while the bran and so on were sieved off. These sievings contain the germ of the wheat or rice, and incidentally, the vitamin B and the mineral salts. The flour from the modern treatment is whiter, bleached, and the public, mistakenly thinking that whiteness means purity and goodness, demands the whitest possible flour. To obtain this, the modern miller bleaches his flour with chemicals. The result of these operations is to produce a devitalized white powder, which we make into bread. Okay, get that? Devitalized white powder, which we make into bread. But it is no longer the, quote, staff of life. The sievings, which contain the most valuable part of the wheat, are made into foodstuffs for poultry or other livestock. Very powerful commercial interests, including a whole group of advertised cereal goods, drugs, preparations, etc., have been built up upon the circumstances that the milling trade has been ready and able to supply the raw materials of these traders in the form of the so-called offal, O-F-F-A-L, of flour, which offal was, prior to 1880, included in the daily food of the people, and is now extracted from it. The attention of the Minister of Food is called to a legal anomaly, now much discussed and likely to excite feeling when it is more generally appreciated. These are the dairyman or milk supplier who extracts cream from his milk beyond a certain percentage is visited with the most severe penalties. Interesting. The miller who extracts the equivalent of cream from his flour goes scot-free. So they used to penalize them for removing cream from the milk, and now they've been pushing what is that, skim milk for a long time. Thank goodness I got my parents off of skim milk. A few passages from another excellent pamphlet, Our Daily Bread, by Professor Joseph Riley of Cork, Ireland, may be quoted in confirmation of what we have just said. The trend of development in the treatment of cereals for human use is not in line with progress in the science of nutrition, but rather in the opposite direction. This applies especially to wheat, as used by man in the form of white loaf. The aim for a long time was to provide a product pleasant in appearance, irrespective of the loss of the finer nutritive constituents. The actual nature of the loaf has changed within the last 3 or 4 decades. Now, and this was written, again, this was written in the 40s, 1940s. And has continued for 100 years. We've been fed garbage. I would like to emphasize this fact that the public should not confuse the present high extraction flour with wholemeal flour. What I mean by wholemeal flour is whole grain, stone milled flour containing the germ of the wheat as well as all the other constituents of the wheat berry. Even the roller milled flour is often bleached still whiter by irritants or oxidized by so-called chemical improvers. Okay, here we list in some chemicals which they've been using. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Chemicals such as nitrocychloride, chlorine, nitric acid, chlorine, nitric acid, benzoyl peroxide, or certain persulfates are also used. Nitrogen trichloride has largely displaced other chemicals in the bleaching of flour. About 90% of the flour mills in North America and 85% in England employ this reagent. Again, this was written back then. I don't know if things have changed, but even though it increases cost, alters the gluten, there you go. Okay, there you go. Gluten, and gives the baker a more stable and stiffer dough so that on treatment with yeast, a better quote-unquote loaf results, which will absorb more water, hence more loaves per sack of flour. In spite of these undeniable facts, the struggle to secure good bread for the people, especially for the poor, will be exceedingly difficult. The big mills with their large output pay better than the other type, which turned out better flour. Just reading to see if this next one is worthy of all that. Okay, another pamphlet says, this is a great danger. The Cooperative Wholesale Society milled 22% of the flour, ranks 20%, and independent firms 32%. That's how much percentage of the society, of the industry. Hearst said that it would not be long before 80% of the industry was controlled. And now 90% is controlled by 3 powerful interests. Okay, and now it's kind of even down to a couple with BlackRock owning everything, at least their stock. May they not be found, let's see, what are the circumstances which explain the resistance to the provision of a wholemeal bread? May they not be found in the fact that the entire industry of flour milling in this country is now, for practical purposes, concentrated in one gigantic combination, which approximates to the position of a single trust, inasmuch as 2 private and interrelated firms with the Cooperative Wholesale Society as their sole rival control the whole production of flour. Any departure from existing practice must mean a serious disturbance of invested capital, amounting at this time probably to something like 20 million sterling. and the loss to the companies concerned of the highly profitable byproducts of milling white flour. Mr. John Burns, President, Local Government Board, announced that a bill was in preparation to secure the purity of flour and to render illegal the use of phosphates and bleaching. July 23, 1912. The same minister stated that a bill dealing with the whole question of the purity of food, including flour, was in preparation. March 26, 1913. Neither measure, however, saw the light. Today, luckily, with the internet, believe it or not, has introduced the ability for people to research and dig into finding out what is the better way to eat. And so now even breads are succumbing to more natural methods and getting back to the old ways of eating the total whole grain. That has been helpful in that sense. The internet has for that, for sure. We also found, and I believe as a result of the mass inoculation programs that began after well, I'm not going to say when they began, but they were really noticed when autism started to increase, and the research of the parents started to increase like tremendously. So much has been learned as a result of parents doing their own research through the internet, myself included. Okay, let's get Mass started, and thank you for listening. Again, these things that I talk about are important in a Catholic society. We have to have real food. Deum vobiscum et quoque apate. Oremus. O God, the Creator and Redeemer of all the faithful, grant to the souls of thy servants and handmaids the remission of all their sins, that they may obtain by loving prayers the forgiveness which they have always desired, who livest and reignest with thee, one God, forever and ever. Suscipe Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum Hanc Immaculatam Hostium, quam ego ingenius famulus tuus offedi tibi Deum meum vivum et verum. Pro in nomine Filibus peccatis et offensionibus et negligentis meis, et pro omnibus circumstantibus, sed pro omnibus fidelibus catalocorum vivis atque defunctis ut mihi et idis proficietat salutem. Deum qui humani substantia dignitate mirabilitu condidisti et mirabilis reformasti da nobis, peduchus atque divinimis Deum eis divinitatis esse consortis qui militatis nostrae, fide dignatis est particips eum Iesum Christum Filium, qui tecum vivet et reinat in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Fedimus tibi Deum calicem salutaris tuum da peccantes clementium, ut in conspecto divini majestatis tuae, pro nostra totius mundi salute, cum odore suavitatis ascendat. Spiritu meditatis et in animo contritus suscipiam rate Deum Iesum Christum, et sequiet sacrificium nostrum et conspecto hodie, uplatia tibi Deum matronam nostre et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Beni Sanctificator. Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, et benedicit oblata prosequendo, et accepere hoc sacrificium tuo sanctum nomine preparatum. Suscipe Sancta Trinitas, hoc oblationem quam tibi eferimus, amamone passiones resurrectionis et ascensiones Deum Iesum Christum, et in honorem Deum Matronam Nostri et Papa Peter Sanctorum et Istorum et Omnium Sanctorum, ut idis proficiat ad honorem, nobis autem et salutem, et idi pro nobis intercedere dignenter in celis, quorum amorem agimus in te expediendum Christum Deum nostrum. Orate, ut meum ec vestrum ac sacrificium acceptabile fiat apud Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, suscipia Deum Iesum Christum sacrificium de manibus tuis, et laudem et gloriam nomini sui ad utilitatem quoque nostram totiusque ecclesiae suae sanctae. Deum vobiscum, quoque apud te, sursum corda, habemus ad Deum. Gratias agamus Deum nostrum, dignum et justum est. Egitur limites mater et pater, Deum Matrum Nostre, Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, per Deum Iesum Christum Filium Tuum, Deum Nostre, subitus habemus ac petimus, ut ecceptebe esse benedicas ex sanctam sacrificium medibata. In primisque tibi offerimus pro ecclesiam Tuam Sanctam Catholicam, quam pacificari custodiri ad honore et regere dignidis tot orbiterare atque Catholicae. Memento Deum famorum tuorum. We pray for the sick and the suffering. We especially pray for Neil and Earl Lively, Maria Josephina Mose, Henry and Benedict Santa Croce, Barbara, James, Brittany Santa Croce, and Rebecca Santa Croce. We pray for Zenedo Luis and Amparo Cantu, Mr. Nobody, Julian Galavis, and Luis Antonio Cantu, Jenna, Lena, Lori, Aaron, and family. We pray for Mr. Nobody to receive the funding and strength needed to complete the First Sede Vacantis Catholic Council office in Monastery of Illinois. We pray for an end to all governmental allowance or sanctioning of abortion or transgenderism of any kind, anywhere, any place, or any time. We pray for the Trinitarian Theophany to please stop the feminist movement everywhere, anytime, to stop women from having to work for corporations and Freemasons everywhere, anytime, to have all women attend to raising their families and to raise their families as Catholic, traditional Catholic families, to stop the quote OnlyFans unquote platform, and to stop pornography anywhere, any place, anytime, and to stop gay marriage anywhere, anytime. We pray for the establishment of a Catholic monarchy with a Catholic sound system of labor, human value, medium, and exchange. We pray for courageous men to step forward as leaders of this Catholic society and to join the Trinitarian Guardians, or the Guardians of the Trinitarian Theophany. We ask for the conversion of all sinners trapped in the state of mortal sin, especially the ignorant. We ask for the effects of the satanic Black Mass and rituals held on June 29th, 1963 between the Vatican and the Masonic Mother Lodge in South Carolina be reversed and the spell and demons destroyed forever. We pray for wisdom on how to prepare natural foods and raise animals naturally for the health of a Catholic people. We pray for the elimination of all harmful radiation waves in our air and in our homes, to shut down and keep shut down CERN and all particle accelerators, to close all gateways and portals permanently, and to destroy the pathways for the demonic through AI. And we ask for successful, hasty, and peaceful court outcomes for the Keller and Kendrick families. All these things we ask in accordance with God's holy and divine will. et omnium circumstantium quorum tibi fides, cognita est et nota devotio, pro quibus tibi afferimus, per qui tibi offerunt hoc sacrificium laudis, pro se suisque omnibus, pro redemptione animarum, suarum prospe salutis, et ingulamitatis suae, tibique redunt vota sua aeterno Deum vivo et vero. Communicantes et memoriam venerantes, in primis gloriose semper Deum atronam nostre, et Deum Iesum Christum, et beatorum martyrium totum Papa Sancte Petri, et Sancte Lucia, et Sancte Jacinta, et Sancte Francisco, et Sancte Juan Diego, et omnium sanctorum tuorum quorum meritis precibusque concedes, ut in omnibus protectionis tui monuamur exidio periendum Christum Deum nostrum. Quam oblationem de Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum in omnibus consecratum acceptabilem conficere dignitis, ut nobis corpum et sanguinem, viet directissimi filium tuum Deum Iesum Christum, qui pridie quam pateretur recepit panem in sancta sacramentis manus suas, et derivatis oculis in caelum ad Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum suum omnipotentem tibi gratias agens, consecravit, fregit de quae lumnis sui dicens accipite, et manducate ex hoc obonis. Hoc est enim corpus meum. Simili modo postquam ceremonias accipiens et hunc preclarum calicem in sancta sacramentis manus suas et in tibi gratias agens Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Consecravit de quae lumnis sui dicens accipite et bibite ex eo omnes. Hic est enim calix sanguinis mei, mysterium fidei, quae pro nobis et pro multis affundetur in remissionem peccatorum, et quod est cum effigeris in emum facetis. Unde et memores Deum nos servitui, sed plebs tua sancta iustem Christum filium tuum Deum nostrae, tam beata passiones nec non et eben felis resurrectionis, sed et in celos gloriose ascensionis afferimus preclare majestatitudi tuis donis actatis, supraque popetso axareno vultur respicere digneris. Sublices teragamus Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, ibi hec perferre manus tuum, ut quod, exarcataris participatione sacrosanctum Deum Filium Tuum, corpus et sanguinem subsenimus omni, benedictione, celesti et gratia Rei per amor periendum Christum Deum nostri. We pray for the we pray for the deceased, and we especially pray for Gertrude Arrigo, for whom this Mass is being offered. Ipsis Deum et omnibum in Christum crescentibum, locum refugere lucis et pacis, ut indulge est placamur periendum Christum Deum nostrum. Perquem hec omnia Deum Iesum Christum semper bona creas, sanctificas, vivificas, benedicis et prestas nobis. Per ipsum et cum ipso et in ipso, est ibi Deum Matrum omnipotenti in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, omnis honor et gloria. Ave Deum, matronam noster, gratia plena Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum tecum, sanctum tuum in mulieribus. Deum matronam nostri, matronam Deum Iesu Christum, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et hora mortis nostrae. Libera nos quesumus Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, ab omnibus malis, praeteritis, presentibus et futuris, et intercedende beata gloriosa semper Deum matronam nostrae, cum Papa Petrum Sanctorum et omnibus sanctis, da propitius pacem in diebus nostris, ut opi misericordiae Tui aduite et peccato, simus semper liberi et boni perturbationes securi. Per eundum Deum nostrum, Iesum Christum, Filium Tuum Deum nostrum, qui tenge vivet et renat in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, per aeternam, pax Deum, Iesum Christum, sit semper vobiscum, et quoque apete, ecce mixtio a consecratio corporis et sanguis Deum Iesum Christum fiat cipiedibus nobis, in ad salutem aeternam. Pax tecum, et quoque apete. Deum Iesum Christum, qui ex voluntate Dei matronam nostrae, corporante Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, per mortem Tuum unu vivificasti, libera me per hoc sacro sanctum corpus et sanguinem Tuum abonibus iniquitatibus meis, et universis malis, et fac me Tui semper inharare mandatis, et atinumquam separari permittas, qui cum eodem Dei matronam nostrae et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum vivis arenam aeternam. Perceptio corporis Tui Deum Iesum Christum, quod ego in unius sumere presimo non mihi proveniat in judicium condemnationem, sed pro Tua pietate prosit mihi ad tutum benedicere corporis, et ad mededam percipiendam qui vivis serenas, cum Deum matronam nostri in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Panem celestem accipiem et nomen Deum Iesum Christum invocavo. Deum matronam nostri non sunt dignius, ut intercedete meis in tantum verbo subterranea mea. Deum Iesum Christum non sunt dignius, ut intercedete meis in tantum verbo subterranea mea. Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum non sunt dignius, ut intercedete meis in tantum verbo subterranea mea. Corpus Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodiet anima mea. Quid retribuam Deum Iesum Christum pro omnibus correctiud mihi, calicem salutaris accipiem et nomen Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum invocabo. Laudans invocabo Deum matronam nostrae et ab inimicis meis salvus ero. Sanguis Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodiet anima meam. Codori sumus Deum Iesum Christum piedemente capiamus et immunere tempore fit nobis remedium sempiternam. Corpus tuum Deum Iesum Christum, quod somse sanguis competavere scerbus meis apresta, ut in me non remeniat scelera macula quem pura sancta revigenda sacramenta. Deum vobiscum, quoque apote, oremus. O my Deum Iesum Christum, please pardon my sins and save me from the fires of hell. Please deliver all souls from purgatory, especially those most in need. And may the prayer of thy suppliants profit the souls of thy servants and handmaids, we beseech thee, O God, that thou mayest free them from all sins and make them sharers in thy redemption, who livest and reignest with thee, one God, forever and ever. Deum vobiscum, quoque apote, te mise est. Deum gratia. Pace tibi sancta Trinitam obsequum servitutis meae, e presta ut sacrificium cor oculis tui maestatis in nus optori tibi sietata taurem mique et omnibus, proculus irut optoli sit de miserante propitiabile per Christum Deum nostrum. Benedicat vos omnipotens Deum, Matronam et Filium et Spiritum Sanctum, Deum Matronam nostre et Deum Iesum Christum et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Gratias. O my God, I believe, I adore, I hope, and I love thee. I beg of thee pardon for those who do not believe, do not adore, do not hope, and do not love thee. Most holy Trinitarian Theophany, I adore thee profoundly, and I offer to thee the most precious body, blood, soul, and divinity of God Jesus Christ, present here in reparation for the outrages, sacrileges, and indifference by which he himself is offended, and through the infinite merits of his most sacred heart and immaculate heart of God Our Lady, I beg of thee the conversion of poor sinners. In nomine Deum Matronam Nostre, Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Gracias. Thank you for coming, and thank you, CW, I see, and Greg. You guys are wonderful. I am so glad that you got together and that we got together. And we're moving mountains. I don't know if you realize that, but we can't always see that, but it's happening. So it's a great thing to do. It's the right thing to do is a great thing to do. Maybe I'll end that with each video. The right thing to do is a great thing to do. Please go and sanctify everybody you meet today, and we'll see you tomorrow.